has always been man. Man had the sun. And so it went like this over many years. Facing extinction, mankind withdrew behind walled cities under the protection of the church. And then the ultimate weapon was found. The priests, with extraordinary powers, trained by the churches, were placed on reservations. And fearing the power of the weapon they created, the ruling clergy ordered the priests to be integrated back into a society that no longer needed them. And as the years passed, the few surviving priests faded into obscurity.
When we look backward to ancient Egypt, we stumble upon a profound belief concerning a large stone that fell from heaven shaped like a pyramid. When the Egyptians discovered this rock, they found it covered in writings upon its faces, arcane knowledge about the birth of the universe. It was called the Bin stone. It was linked to rebirth. The Heliopolitan cult near Giza at Memphis maintained a mansion of the Bin. It was held that this pillar was originally made of meteoric iron. To the archaic mind, meteoric iron was a heavenly metal holy to God. This stone shaped like a pillar was a spiritual geographical marker that represented the first point of creation, or place of the first time. Thus, the true capstone descended, or will descend from the heavens and will initiate a rebirth.
Life has no meaning anymore, does it? The wine has no taste. The food sickens you. There seems no reason for any of it, does there? What if I could give it back to you? Pluck out the pain and give you another life. One you could never imagine. And it would be for all time. And sickness and death could never touch you again. Don't be afraid.
To the Sethites, both before and after this deluge, this monument was the stone embodiment of a prophecy from the earliest times concerning the end of the world and its destruction by fire. It was the fragmented memory of this that gained it the name pyramid, which is pillar of fire. But this is merely the covering, the surface text to a gigantic book.
Don't be frightened. Please, how can I put you at ease? Shall we begin like David Copperfield? I am born, I grew up. Or shall we begin when I was born to darkness, as I call it? You're not lying to me, are you? Why should I lie?
That has remained in plain sight for millennia. An enormous mine of revelations that beckons us to search deeper into its mysteries. We see spiritual truth like as through a glass darkly, according to the scriptures. And it just may be that this silent and magnificent monument is a gate to a promise from heaven extended to all on earth who choose to see it.
Have you said your goodbyes to the light? If I leave you here, you die. But you must stay there. Will you come? Oh no.
He was raised in the house of Noah, who was at that time very old and looked after by the Semitic peoples living in Canaan. Under Noah's tutoring, Abram became learned in the secrets and sciences of the antediluvian world. He became a student of pre-flood astronomy and was initiated into the hidden mysteries of timekeeping under the earlier draconian calendrical systems and the newer post-apocalyptic modified systems of all scribal lore and chronological histories. Noah and Shem taught Abram firsthand the history of the world before the flood and the prophetic writings of their forefathers concerning the end of the world and the return of God to earth. Abram also studied the writings of Enoch, which were at the time inscriptions also studied by his great-grandson Simeon.
Everybody's dying. Pay no attention. Happens to us all. Now look.
Much of the teachings of Noah were from the books that he preserved upon the ark. Noah's wisdom and knowledge was immense. Having lived under the pristine climate and atmospheric conditions of the world prior to the deluge, he was a man born under better genetic circumstances that allowed him to live so long. He was already 600 years old at the cataclysm, and if the Sumerian records are true, Noah was the king of the city of Shurapak long before prior to the flood.
What did you see? No words can describe it. Might as well ask heaven what it sees. No human can know. The statue seemed to move, but didn't. The world had changed, it stayed the same.
In atmospheric conditions of the world prior to the deluge, he was a man born under better genetic circumstances that allowed him to live so long. He was already 600 years old at the cataclysm, and if the Sumerian records are true, Noah was the king of the city of Shurapak long before prior to the flood. Having spent 40 years learning from this ancient man, Abraham himself was a remarkable repository of information. He was the only man on earth 350 years after the flood, when Noah died, to fully grasp the spectrum of mysteries of God, both before and after the deluge. Abraham visited Egypt with this information, and it is this author's belief that such an incredible man could never have left Egypt unaffected. Hebraic traditional writings hold that Abraham went to Egypt and taught the astrologers and wise men of Pharaoh's court great secrets of God hidden in the stars and celestial motions. Such a claim is also confirmed in the Masonic document called the Wood Manuscript, which dates from 1610 AD. The Wood Manuscript claims that the sciences and knowledge taught by Abraham had been derived from one of the pillars that had been discovered, and that as one learned in the scribal mysteries of the Sumerians, Abraham himself understood these writings and related them to the Egyptians. This pillar was one of the Giza pyramids covered in minute inscriptions from the pre-flood world seen by the baffled Greek and Roman historians almost 2,000 years later. The Masonic Inigo Jones document cited the same information. However, Abraham here is substituted for Hermes. It is clear that Abraham is the subject of the context, however, because the text claims the antediluvian writings were found upon excavated pillars that were translated by a minister to Osiris, king of Egypt, during the reign of Ninus, who was Nimrod according to the Assyrians. Alexandrian historians identified two distinct Hermes figures. The first was the builder of the pillars, and the second was much later. It was the second Hermes that found the pillars and translated them, according to Iamblichus, who wrote that this second Hermes lived after the flood. And this would no doubt be Abraham, who, according to this Inigo Jones document, taught the ancient Egyptians the zodiac and the secrets of the stars, hieroglyphics, and diverse sciences. Such is further substantiated in the book of Jasher, which states that in the days of Abraham, the king of Egypt was Osiris, the son of Mina. The Jasher account extensively outlines Nimrod's life and reign, and even his personal experiences with Abram, the son of one of his favorite Babylonian war generals. The connection between Osiris, second ruler of Egypt, and Nimrod of Chaldea is nothing short of astonishing, for Nimrod's name in Assyrian was Ninus. But even more incredible is the evidence that this minister to the Egyptian ruler was in fact Abram. Cyrillus Alexandrinus in Contra Julianum wrote that long ago a powerful Chaldean visited Egypt, a man of immense wisdom. Such a historical reference would not have been recorded if the stranger had not left a powerful impact upon the Egyptian people at such a remote time in the culture's infancy. Many Chaldeans have visited Egypt. If such an incredibly wise man of learning did visit Pharaoh's court, then such an event could not have remained unacknowledged in Egypt's archives. Setting aside the apparent anachronisms so prevalent in interpretations of Egyptian history, we learn that an Egyptian record called the Westcar Papyrus does tell that during the reign of Khufu, a foreigner visited Egypt, a venerable man of 110 years age who was believed to be able to perform miracles but was known greatly for his vast wisdom. Of particular fascination to the sages of Pharaoh's court was the fact that this stranger to Egypt was acquainted with the mysteries of Thoth, Enoch. Abram was a Chaldean by birth.
Now look. What did you see? No words can describe it. Might as well ask heaven what it sees. No human can know. The statue seemed to move, but didn't. The world had changed, it stayed the same.
From Noah and Enoch's inscriptions upon the tablets kept safe by the Sethites after the flood. At age 110, Abram was living among the Philistines at the eastern borders of the land of Egypt, so it is not improbable that he could have spent a considerable amount of time translating these pillars, the pyramid inscriptions at Giza, for the Egyptians. The Greek historian Herodotus may have inadvertently recorded this as well. Concerning the pyramids at Giza, he wrote,
Perhaps you'd like another cigarette? Some bothering you with it? No. I assume that it would be. It's not like you're gonna die from cancer or anything.
that they had been built by one called Philition, which merely is a Grecian title meaning native of Philly. He was also called Philistus, a shepherd who frequently fed his flocks near Giza. Or barbarism, Sheikh Anta Diop, on page 281, wrote it was Philistus who brought the secrets of the calendar into Egypt, exactly what is said of Thoth, Hermes, and Enoch. The Westcar Papyrus reveals that this 110-year-old man knew the number of the chambers of Thoth. Some Egyptologists interpreting this to mean secret chambers of the primeval sanctuary, according to Zechariah Sitchin in The Wars of Gods and Men. This visitor to Egypt of old claimed to know where the plans with numbers were hidden. This, no doubt, was what Abraham found inside the primeval sanctuary.
You have questions. What are we? Nothing. Who made us what we are? Surely you know the one who made you. Yes, but the one who made him. The source. All this evil. I understand.
Sanctuary, or Great Pyramid. It is quite possible that he did not build these monuments, but because of his own fame, he was later identified with them. All of this further identifies Abraham, who was a shepherd and a nomad who was living in the area of the Philistine city of Gerar when he was 110 years old. It is obvious that after the passage of so many years, the historical accounts of different scribes and records would have become slightly confused. It is not a stretch of the imagination to assume that the Egyptians would have later credited this stranger with building the monuments if he had been remembered as the one who had translated the mysterious writings found upon them. All evidence points that the enigmatic writings of the Book of the Dead, as well as some of the older biblical records and the ancient writings of many early civilizations, merely borrowed their source materials from the inscriptions preserved through the flood that were engraved.
What did you say? No words can describe it.
There's nothing in this world now that doesn't hold some
Fascination.
Yes. Anything is possible.
You feel you deserve to die and you stand on nothing. Does that make you evil? Or since you comprehend what you call goodness, does not make you good? Then there's nothing. Perhaps. But perhaps. This is the only real evil left. That God does not exist. I know nothing of God or the devil. I have never seen a vision nor learned a secret that would damn or save my soul. That's what I always fear. You fear too much. The one who made you should have told you this. The one who left the old world for you. Those answers you so long for. You said there were none, but you asked the wrong questions. You know how few have the stamina for immortality. How quickly they perish of their own will. But the world changes. We do not. Therein lies the irony that finally kills us.